hello again, Luiza and Marco. Thank you very much for being here. I'm very glad that we can discuss a very hot topic, as we may call it that way, AI Act. And as we were discussing before our discussion, please tell me a bit about the context. What is it all about with AI Act, and maybe you would mention your work with the AI office. We are talking about the European Union, so that we pinpoint our map. So please, Luiza or Marco, you can dive in, please.
Now, as you know, AI is a very important and big topic when it comes to cultural and creative sectors. It disrupts our life, our work in so many ways. And the European Union decided to introduce certain rules to regulate this topic, especially when it comes to copyright-related obligations, which is very problematic currently for the cultural sector. So the AI Act is a piece of legislation that was adopted last year by the European Union. It provides a set of obligations for AI providers, for AI developers, to make artificial intelligence more safe, transparent, but whether it delivers, that's another question.
Yes.
And I think when it comes to cultural and creative sectors, AI completely changes the way we work. And there are two major challenges that I see, namely the future of copyright and the future of the creative process itself. Because on the input side, we see cultural data, photos, images, music, texts being used for AI training without authorization and remuneration. So creators are not getting asked and they are not getting paid. On the output side, we see a flood of AI-generated content. We see books on Amazon. We see visual works mimicking the style of living authors, and all of which evade infringement because style isn't protected by copyright, and meanwhile creators are losing their jobs.
You are talking about contemporary culture. We are not diving into that idea of heritage and copyright, which is public copyright. There we go to another. So we are talking about living artists, as you mentioned.
Yes, definitely. And a very interesting fact that copyright also, AI reverses the way copyright works. So normally copyright rewards the expression of an idea, not an idea itself. And AI now does the bulk of work related to the expression, to the production of that idea. So probably technical craft now matters less and ideas and prompts matter more, but at the same time even prompts are being automated. When you ask ChatGPT something, it gives you a response and then suggests you, do you want me to elaborate further? Do you want to do this and that?
And it's always teasing you to do more.
Absolutely. And we've relied on copyright for a couple of centuries now to provide remuneration for artists, for creators, and now the system is crumbling. And what's interesting, of course, we had issues with copyright before, piracy, for example. But in this case, we see almost deliberate attempts to question or dismantle the copyright system. For example, in the communication of AI Office and the European Commission, we often hear calls to simplify copyright-related obligations under the argument of public interest.
Because art and culture is common good, and there we miss the point, huh? Kind of.
Yeah, there is a question, whose public interest is that? Because their position is, for example, we need to provide easier access to data for small and medium enterprises to develop. We need to boost innovation, to boost competitiveness, because it's for the best of the European continent. But at the same time, if a growing number of creators feel exploited, feel like you know, those bodies in the matrix that are connected.
Very good.
Connected to robots that serve as energy batteries to feed robots.
Yes.
Then it might not be a truly genuine public interest. And this all brings us to the question of the future of copyright, because I think creators should keep fighting the copyright battle,
Yes.
keep advocating for opt-in options rather than opt-out options, but at the same time go beyond copyright. We see different groups of interests proposing their visions of the future of copyright. We see open data communities, we see Creative Commons, copyleft. It's not the first time these discussions emerge. For example, in 2003, there was a very interesting proposal by an economist, Dean Baker, who proposed the artistic freedom voucher. He proposed that every adult be given a refundable tax credit, let's say 100 euros, that they could spend only on culture and creative works. And the point is, I think that now we need more ambitious ideas like this one. We need to come up with new economic models that allow for sufficient remuneration. There are different discussions. We can talk about licensing frameworks. We can talk about something similar to private copying levies, for example, when AI companies pool resources that are later distributed among creators. But the point is that we need to formulate that vision of copyright. That's on the one side.
Maybe it would be interesting to mention about your relationship that you mentioned before with the AI office, and maybe because Luiza also said about the interest groups, which would be, I mean, for example, you would expect the big companies to have their advocacy guys there, but what about the artists, for example? I mean, and here as well, we can also talk about your organization, and Luiza will mention later about the Culture Action Europe, which is also hosting us during the conference Beyond Many. Please.
The topic is immense, and since it's huge, we have so many group of stakeholders being involved. Yes, we have the big companies, we have the open source AI developers who also are represented. There are also the artists, but there are not just the artists or the cultural creators, there are also the cultural heritage professionals that are represented, and many more categories. And it was really interesting for us to engage in this conversation. What happened is that the AI Act basically asks in its legislation for a code of conduct.
Yes.
And this code of conduct is meant to be co-created with a community.
Yes.
A community that is led by the AI office, that is the body that is meant to follow the implementation of the AI Act at national level, in the national premises. So important to say that the AI Act is a regulation. So it's the type of law that is applied to all EU countries in the same way. Different to like the Copyright Directive, which is translated in national legislation. So this very big law that comes and tells you, okay, you have to create a conversation around it. So we said, okay, in the conversation, we want to create a conversation with our memberships. We are from two different organizations. Luiza is from Culture Action Europe. I'm from Michael Cultural Association.
Yes.
And for us, the objective was really to put them together, different communities, because our membership is more cultural heritage institutions, researchers, and the community of Culture Action Europe, which is very diverse.
Yes.
So that we could discuss about it. And the clash, which wasn't really a clash between the communities, but it was the clash of ideas in general, was really interesting. We learned a lot because our idea was, before going into the official discussion with the AI office, we want to process, to elaborate. And we started with a survey that was co-created with the community, so a very collaborative process.
Very nice.
It was interesting, and of course, since it's a huge topic at European level, everybody wanted to talk about it. We had very good participation in the working group. I think that now we have around 100 members of this action group, what is called Action Group on Digital and AI, because we needed a catchy name, you know. And then the survey gave us some results that we used for multiple documents. Among them, we have the mission statement of the action group that not only delves into the AI topic, but also on another topic surrounding digital and digital ethics. But also, we published some recommendations. It was a position letter that we reproduced around the AI Act and the implementation of the AI Act, and these documents guided through our work with the AI office. And then when we got accepted for the official discussion, let's say we received the news, then the first meeting, I remember seeing 1,000 connected people online.
Okay, yeah.
And the first question that you have is, how can you really create a collaborative process with so many people, which is, in principle, is good. You have so many people and a lot of representation. At the same time, the discussion is watered down.
You need design already. Yeah, definitely.
We tried to take the floor because you had to ask for the floor in amount before the meeting.
Okay.
We had several meetings. We got to have the floor. Luiza got the floor once. She had 3 minutes to talk.
Oh God.
And then we had to give our feedback every time that we.
I mean, we just.
That gives us some fun. And then for each draft that they were publishing, we were giving our feedback through the official platform. Then we wanted also to publish in a transparent way, which was kind of the keyword for this whole process for us on our side. We want to be transparent, and we want AI development in general to be transparent, which is the big topic. I think it all boils down to that, in my honest opinion.
I will stop you a bit because I don't think we have the copyright for this. So maybe, please.
But actually interesting because there are some AI tools that remove the background.
Hopefully, I mean, we can continue the discussion and
we can stop for a bit if you're worried.
No, actually, the idea of of a collaborative sounds nice, but actually you have to prepare, be very prepared because what do you do? 1,000 opinions, really? I mean, you have to have some filters for them. You have what you want to expect. I mean, everybody can open their mouth or can write something, but otherwise, I mean, what you do with all this information, which is a gross information. I mean, it's a raw information.
And you couldn't speak or tap in the chat during which is normal. I understand that you're gonna have so many people giving their input and you want to structure it.
Yes.
And the work was divided in different groups, in different working groups that were working. Like we were specifically in a group about transparency and copyright.
Yes.
But since the AI Act is divided on a risk-based approach.
Yes.
So there were also working group working specifically on this risk-based approach and everything
and on different industries and
No, it wasn't divided by industry. It was like very horizontal in that way.
Okay.
So in the copyright area, we were like put together with a lot of people, and of course, plenty of people from the creative sector. But not only. And you were asking before the big guys, they come with their representatives. And the feeling that I got is that they're not getting with their personal policy advisor that is present there, or maybe someone is present from the organization, but as we are, let's say, collected in one organization, they have representative organizations.
Whether lawyers or what?
They are very good lobbyists. which that you know like
they were hired to do that. I mean, they were not quite.
I mean, it's normal. I think
normal,
it's the part of the game. You have the lobbyists, you have the advocates. Let's say what we like to be called. But and then you try to discuss, and you always saw these results at the end of the discussion, seeing 3, 4, 5 weeks after the result that was elaborated by the chair and the co-chairs of the working group, of each working group. And I think we're gonna talk about it, but we were a little
we weren't happy,
deceived. Let's say yes.
You weren't happy, so
no. But for me, in general, I think it's really interesting because now everybody wants to talk about AI. Not a lot of people know what AI is actually. And artificial intelligence, for how we call it now, is something that is a technology. It's like deep learning. It's a technology that exists since the 70s and 80s in the way we know it now. But predictive technology, it's been already there throughout the history of computer science.
Yes.
So it was just a label that was invented in the 70s, 80s by US researchers that needed the money to complete their research.
But actually, it's also the thing that it got so popular because it was at your fingertips, literally. I mean, quasi everybody can use it. So I think this also contributes to the marketing of it. I mean, you need something to go somewhere, or you need a script, or for. I mean, you are very encouraged to use it as a tool. But as you mentioned, please.
I very often hear people referring to AI as a tool, either a good tool or a bad tool. But I would disagree here. I think first of all, technology is never just about being a tool, and there are different philosophers from, Martin Heidegger to Mark Zuckerberg who say, no, technology is not a tool. Actually, it has some agency, some autonomy. For technology that disrupts our life in so many ways, our cognitive skills, the way we create, the way we educate our children, the way we work. I think it would be more fair to refer to AI as some kind of environment or a space or tool force.
Thank you for that. I mean, I was just looking at it as a tool. Really, but if it's disruptive, you are right. We cannot use it as a tool. I mean, this is not disruptive. I mean,
well, probably when it was invented, it was really disruptive.
But you also mentioned. Maybe we'll just wrap it up with the part of what you have discovered and pinpoint as. Risk from the cultural and creative industry part, and then maybe you mentioned at the beginning of the discussion about the using AI in the creative process, which is of course is more than an environment, is more than a tool, as I spoke about it, and it's more than an environment where you live and work, no? The artist live and work. So maybe you should pinpoint what would be the risk that you provided that would be risk and they were not taken into consideration, or where they were downgraded maybe. So we will stick on the risk side, also on the bad part of it. So it would be interesting. The bad part is shocking. Please.
So now we're the 4th of June 2025.
Yes.
We have the 3rd version of the Code of Practice published, but it's not the final version. We expect the final version
this August.
Until August, probably in July, end of July, we'll see. And we were quite dissatisfied with the 3rd draft of the Code of Practice because of the structural process-related means, how the consultation process was structured, what Marco mentioned before. But at the same time, what do you mean by structure? How the consultation process was organized. It was not
some of the content itself.
And then on the content. we feel that the third version of the code of practice, first of all, waters down or dilutes existing legal obligations, and even more so, doesn't provide real copyright safeguards. And I think there are three main points I'd focus on. Yeah. First, opt-outs. So under the copyright directive, rights holders can opt out of their data being used for text and data. So it means that they can say, no, I don't want my data to be used in this way. And they need to do it via machine-readable means, so machine-readable tools, technical tools. Okay. Right, and the code of practice narrows down this and allows only for one particular machine-readable tool, which is robots.txt protocol, which is quite outdated, which was not designed for this purpose. And as for other existing machine-readable tools to opt out, there are metadata tags, public declarations, or when you write on your website that you opt out, or there are many options. The code of practice.
You don't have to go somewhere and fill it in. That's what you are saying. I mean, there are other different types
ways
of opting out.
Exactly. Okay. And then the code of practice doesn't list them because they're not standardized enough. And it only recommends or encourages tech companies to make best reasonable efforts to comply with other machine-readable tools, and even then only if they are agreed upon on yet another EU-level forum or discussion. So, and in our opinion, it creates unnecessary conditionality because we already have the right to opt out via a machine-readable method or tool. And why impose this additional conditionality?
As you said, it's too narrow.
Yeah, exactly. And then the very language of the code of practice is really weird because it uses these phrases like we encouraged the signatories, and the signatories being AI developers, tech companies, we encourage them to make best reasonable efforts to, for example, publish their copyright policies, or to provide information about their bots, their crawlers that collect
it. So it's nothing compulsory, I mean, they are encouraging.
The very code is a non-legally binding document,
it's a code,
but still, and the most outrageous thing was when the code encouraged AI providers not to use data from piracy domains. Would you be please so kind as to not use the data that was previously stolen before?
Really?
Exactly. Okay. That's.
Oh, it's explicit.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Yeah. And probably the final point is that currently the only way to address copyright issues is legal action. You sue. You go to the court, right?
Which is
a very lengthy, and we expected the code of practice to provide some, at least intermediary processes to address copyright issues. And they came up with the idea of a complaint form. So if you're a rights holder and you see that your data was misused somehow, you can lodge a complaint. But the code of practice, as it stands now, leaves this whole process at the discretion of tech companies. So they decide they can easily disregard a complaint if they find it excessive or repetitive,
irrelevant.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, they can label it like irrelevant, and they don't have to take it into consideration.
Yeah.
No, I mean it was it was hard for us, and I think it was hard for the sector to see the direction that this was taking.
Yeah.
And Luiza mentioned it. For me, the most incredible thing in a negative way was that this code in the act was meant to be not legally binding. Meaning that we were there discussing with 1,000 people, 300, 400 for each working group.
Yes.
And then we were about to create something that, yes, was meant to lead the way, but then not to really impose rules. And then I understand that it's difficult to create legislation in a community-led
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
At the same time, it was as I felt it sometimes in a slap in the face, meaning that we were there doing our best,
Yeah.
and the AI Act was meant to recreate that Brussels effect that the GDPR regulation created, more directive, and to create the same situation that there is in the EU market wherever in the world, because we are an economical power.
To make it like a standard.
Exactly. And they got it for GDPR. Then let's not talk about cutting red tape that is happening right now at the Commission level. But they got it for the GDPR, and the AI Act was meant to recreate this effect.
Yes.
And then, because there is this aim at competitiveness, even before the word competitiveness came out, we felt it that we were going in that direction. Everything was kind of sold to this idea of trying to have a balanced approach between the industry and the public and the public good.
Public good, public interest, yeah.
And at one point, as a legislator, you have to take a stand. And taking a stand for the public goods in the way I think a lot of our sector, but also other sectors meant, could have been a good idea. But in general, outside the fact that the code is not legally binding, this issue of transparency, that from transparency a lot of things trickle down. For me, we discussed about copyright, but the fact that a lot of information are not, they are encouraged, the developers and the providers, to publish a lot of a list of information that is pretty thorough, and not required to,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That speaks to me to the level of transparency the way we are going to, and in the elements that the Commission asks the provider to provide on an environmental and social impact level.
Yes.
They were a bit fuzzy, in my opinion, because on an environmental level, AI can have a huge impact, because you have the training phase, and then the use phase, and then you have the creation of hardware, because to create the databases and all the infrastructure. You need a lot of rare minerals that are mined in different parts of the world, and then the pollution that comes of the water.
It's a whole chain.
It's
yeah.
And the code of practice was asking for some bits of it, but then we know
I didn't follow thoroughly all the way from training
exactly
to
like the whole supply chain in a way, because it's. And they know it, because and they know it that the following the supply chains, talking about like
it will stumble in different other problems.
It's so complicated even for the companies, because in 2016 I think Intel was trying to track down the supply chain for the rare minerals they were using for the databases they
Did they succeed?
They found out that they had 16,000 suppliers and sub-suppliers, and the chain was pretty impossible to understand. But why? Because the social and working condition of the people that are in this are like the worst. We know the Democratic Republic of Congo, and we know that the lithium that is mined there, and we know the conditions, the working conditions there, and other things, not just in that area of the world, but anywhere. The point is,
it's huge. I mean, it's also for the technology itself, for the computers. I mean, you can have this problem of supply chain anyway. Fashion industry, I mean.
And it's there that where you have to balance. Like, in a lot of AI tools, they are free to use. But it's like, when you are using something that is powerful, and is free, maybe you should ask yourself why it's free. and we are forgetting it, us users, and that is, I think, it's also a cultural problem, you know.
Well, social media is also free, right?
Yeah, and how do you pay with social media? With data,
Yes,
data
yes,
that
yes.
now
Saving
Meta,
data.
yeah, they're using for training their AI.
I mean, they send an email
Yes.
for opting out.
Yeah.
Huh? I mean, it was good. I mean, I wouldn't expect. I would expect to be somewhere there where you tick accept terms and conditions.
But don't you think it's crazy that your data, your photos, your comments, your whatever, that is yours because it's part of who you are also, and the traits that you leave, it's like you have to ask out. It's like Camus used to rewrite the Descartes sentence, I think, therefore I am, and he used to say, I refuse, therefore I am. But I think they're bringing it a little bit too far in that way.
Actually, social media is not anymore. I mean, I don't know if it was at some point an agora. You know, you go in a public space and then you talk a bit and then you hug and then you go. You will leave no trace there. But on the internet, I mean, there are always your trace there forever and ever. So yeah.
And it is this philosophy of everything is data, and we can take everything and we can scrape everything from the internet just to create a tool. And I think there should be a cultural shift in understanding that data and all your digital presence, it's yours. There is a physicality behind it, and because there is some work for people, that the people's labor behind it. Also concerning artists and creators, there's a work, there's a lot of efforts going behind it, but also the physicality of databases and the things that we were talking about. And words like cloud, artificial, that they make you lose the sense of the fact that you can really touch this kind of thing. So also something that we started advocating, of course we had other priorities with the AI Act, but we also started to rethink also the type of language that we use. You do not feed a machine, because a machine is not a human with data.
With a need to be fed.
Yes, you use data for development, for training. And this also a very anthropic language in general.
Yes, you're
I think
right.
it gives you an idea.
No, it's a good point. Yeah. It's very interesting because we kind of naturally go from administrative, advocacy, legislative, which you think is very technical, to the ethical part. I mean, we are discussing ethics now. So actually, it's good because I had a point that maybe we will just stay a bit on it about the training itself. Apropos the feeding, I mean, what do you train the AI with, and how can you be politically correct, if the term is still on? I mean, how do you try, at least not avoid maybe, but try to avoid the cultural biases, for example? I mean, I know it's a very huge subject, but maybe you just pinpoint maybe from observations or
The point is the AI systems. It's Kate Crawford that defined them as statistical Ouroboros, meaning the snake that eats its own tail.
Yes.
Meaning that it's a self-reinforcing discriminatory machine that recreates what is fed, and then it reuses again what it creates, and everything is hidden under the fact that it's technical. It's like some atmosphere.
Yeah. I mean, it was the music. Now is the light. I mean, I think. Okay.
Are we connected to some kind of AI system?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Hopefully.
So everything is hidden under the guise of technicality, but its biases are intrinsic to AI development, because the data set that we use have biases.
Yes.
And it's normal, because the data also, since it's very personal and physical, it connects to the prominent culture that we have, that we see represented. And so it's a very important thinking about the data sets that we create, because a lot of data sets are available online. One of the perhaps like UTK faces, it was one of the biggest data sets for people faces.
Okay.
And then how is it labeled, this data set? This data set is labeled with 2 genders, so very binary. We can discuss here about the binarity and whatever, but it's a choice. Someone made the choice to create these labels.
Yes.
And then it's to label the faces, you have 5 ethnicities. It's like in the world, you only have 5 ethnicities.
Oh.
The choices that you make in labeling also the data, it reflects a cultural a cultural power, I might say. So
But it depends where the AI company is. I mean, it depends on the region you are. I mean, think it depends. I mean, if we are, I mean, you are feeding with the.
But the point is, usually a lot of let's say a lot of AI systems, they use the same data set, and then they scrape online. But the basic data sets that they are trained on, they're usually very similar, or they are literally the same, because they are taken. There are like packages of data sets that you can find online and that you can use. You can pay or you do not pay.
Yes, scraping is kind. I mean, it's legal if. I mean, scraping.
Luiza was always saying that.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, and it's really cultural. And how do you avoid this? Ideally, you would have a community process to create labelization, and then that wouldn't be perfect, but it would be at least more culturally sensitive. Then,
actually, it's a work in progress as we speak in the society. I mean, the AI actually reflects our biases that that are now on.
But it's a long process, and automating all this, like a lot of the AI systems and AI developers, they use what is called Mechanical Turk. Amazon Mechanical Turk. Okay. It's a crowdsource platform where people can literally ask for micro tasks to workers around the globe. And these micro tasks are paid very, very low. And a lot of AI developers, they use it to label data around the world. And these people that are paid very, very low, they are exposed to a specific content that can range from a certain song, but also to porn or
I read about this. I mean, they have to be protected themselves because they are a human interface of the AI training.
How can ChatGPT recognize when it is producing something that is sensitive and can hurt someone's feelings?
It has to be flagged, so to speak, by a human.
There's someone behind that said, okay, that someone was exposed to this kind of content. So you see that there are so many problems, and making this right is very difficult. It's very difficult.
I think it'll be in waves. I mean, I don't think it can be. I mean, it has to be over and over again. I mean, apropos your observation as well, and for example, the payment, the correct payment of the creators. I mean, we are trying for a statute of the artist since the 80s, and we are still there. I mean, not a certain point in time, but also the working condition of the artist. I mean, a few years ago we are talking. I mean, last year as well. I mean, working condition of the artist, and now we have another top on the fair remuneration for the artists when their creative work is being used for training the AI. How would you see this? Maybe a starting point where they can be protected, and then of course going again and again.
I think here a combination of different tools is needed, because one tool is never sufficient. We as the cultural sector should seize existing opportunities. And first is very simple. We need to keep contributing to the ongoing initiatives of the European Commission related to AI and digital. It's not enough, but it's a bare minimum that we should do. For example, today is the last day of the public consultation on the Apply AI strategy. Then we're going to have the AI strategy for culture and creative sectors.
Perfect. We will keep an eye on this. Yeah, we inform our audience.
Yeah. EU Cloud and AI Development Act, EU Data Union Strategy, AI
so
Continent
it will be
Action
split
Plan.
in
There are so many
better,
initiatives.
yeah. I think it's better like that because it's too if it's a conglomerate, you cannot follow it really.
Sure.
Yes, but at the same time,
As you see it, I mean, I'm just
we need to be aware of these opportunities, and we need to contribute to each and one of them. Then, speaking of Meta proposing you to opt out of your data being used, yes, we can be very unsatisfied with how the question is even formulated, but still we need to also use this opportunity and probably let's encourage our audience to opt out. At the same time, there are different tools of creative resistance or sabotage.
Yes.
In February this year, the UK artists, musicians released a silent protest album. Is that what we want? And the titles of each of the 12 tracks, silent tracks, formed a sentence that I think the UK government should not legalize music theft to benefit AI companies. And it was a very powerful and symbolic gesture supported by many prominent artists. And then we have interesting technical solutions like Nightshade or Glaze. Basically, these are traps, AI traps. They poison AI data sets. If malicious crawlers try to access your data despite opt-outs. And of course, these tools, big tech will learn sooner rather than later how to circumvent these tools. But still, I think from a symbolic perspective, it's a very important sign. No, we don't want to be used. We don't want you to access our data. Of course, we need to keep thinking of alternative models and opportunities, as I mentioned before. And in that regard, I think public funding to culture is very, very important. Now at the EU level, we discuss the next EU long-term budget.
Yes.
The way EU works, it structures its spending in usually a 7-year cycle. Now we are in cycle 21-27, and the next one will start in 2028. But the preparatory work is already underway.
Yeah.
And currently, culture receives 0.2% of the total EU budget. We, as Culture Action Europe, advocate for 2% of that money to be spent on culture on a standalone Creative Europe program, which is the main European Union program that supports cultural and creative sectors, and that also can support work to develop alternative models, solutions. Yeah, definitely. On working conditions, absolutely, you are right. We've been advocating for a common definition of artists and cultural and creative sector professionals at the
Go back to the
EU.
Standardize so that you can have
set minimal
regulatory
standards for decent working conditions. And I think last year we had a survey where more than 80% of respondents supported the idea of a directive for decent working conditions in the cultural and creative sector. And finally, I'd like to highlight another important aspect of AI is that AI is being increasingly weaponized by autocracies. For example, Russia spreads its pro-Kremlin narratives. It feeds its pro-Kremlin narratives in AI datasets. They created a network of propaganda websites called Pravda, which means truth, that are very often cited on Wikipedia, which in its turn is a major source for AI training content, right? And last year, Russia spent more than 1 billion euros on propaganda through culture and media, whereas the budget of Creative Europe program in the EU was 3 times less, 335 million. So we at Culture Action Europe say that cultural content which is rooted in democratic values and which is created through cross-border collaboration is actually the best strategic defense against foreign interference, propaganda, disinformation, psychological warfare, hybrid threats. And we also contributed to the European Democracy Shield consultation, which is the upcoming EU strategy to counter foreign interference. Exactly. So I think it's yet another aspect where we need to pay attention to and act in code, in court, in culture, and in policy.
I think a very good point for seeing the normality of approaching culture and democracy. I mean, we are in an era that they cannot be seen as separate, not only to be approached separate. I mean, it's obvious. It can be weaponized. I mean, it could be weaponized in long time ago, but now it's more present because the online is a huge agora space where everybody, unfortunately, is welcome, but definitely they are using that.
The digital space is now it's always been, but now more than ever, a cultural space, and we should start to think about it like this. And we want to be also activists in the cultural space. We want to be artivists, and I wanted to add one thing to what Luiza was saying. She mentioned the budget, and for us on the microcultural side, what we also would like to see more and in a different way is cooperation funding, so projects that are funding or cooperation between the tech world and the cultural world and the cultural sector. But why? Because it's not like we are here talking about all the problems, and it's not like, let's say, developers are evil. Not at all. It's not what you are saying. It's that they are not aware of the ethics, or if they are aware of a part of it. It depends on who
you're doing their jobs. I mean,
it's normal.
They don't take it as personally as...
And creating sandboxes, creating places where we can talk and co-create these tools. It would be such an improvement. There are already some projects like this, some fundings in this way. Not enough, and also the bias that there is right now is that we need to think about what can AI do for specific sector, for the cultural sector. We recently attended a workshop on it, but the question shouldn't be what can AI do, is do we need AI in this specific direction? And something that we see that is missing is a good needs assessment in terms of the technology that we have and that we know. And then what do we need in the creative and cultural sector? Because if we shift the focus to the cultural heritage sector and the protection of cultural heritage, this is a sector that has been using AI, deep learning for quite a lot of time. And it's very useful and it's really important. I can give you a specific example for the fight against illicit trafficking of cultural goods, which is a niche, but not that niche, because it's one of the main trafficking that feeds into criminal organizations worldwide. So AI and image recognition is helping a lot law enforcement agencies in this, and this comes from a cooperation from the sectors. Accessibility in museums for people with disabilities. AI can really help a lot in different ways, meaning that AI can be used in a good way for the public goods, that for sure. But specifically talking about cultural heritage, when you see the efforts inside of a cultural heritage institutions that brings a community together and brings this community, libraries that bring a community together to discuss what they are lively, they are agoras, as you were saying. This type of discussion could really help the technological developments to go in the good direction. And in a perfect world, I would love to see data sets that are created with a a curation-based approach. Like in a museum, you have a curation of the exposition.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sure.
And these data sets should be co-created and co-curated with the community,
Yes.
trying to be culturally sensitive and to represent people, the communities that are underrepresented or misrepresented in an ideal world.
Yes.
But in a capitalistic approach, like we see now, where transparency is forgotten, where cultural diversity is forgotten, we see that we are systemizing the unsystemizable, meaning that we are trying to create technicality where there is no technicality for the world that is complex and is diverse and is based in cultural diversity and cultural democracy. And the way we are approaching technology now, and specifically AI, is completely flattening down this discussion. And we would like to see this diversity represented. It can be done, but we need to go outside the logics that we are seeing right now of competitiveness of a capitalistic approach.
I just wanted to comment very briefly on the point that you made about the need for cooperation between our sectors.
Yes.
I think it's very important to add that this cooperation should happen on the equal footing.
Yes.
Because we can see cases when when actually it's disguised as cooperation, but in fact it's some power imbalance. And for that, I think it's very important for the cultural sector to participate in the AI governance structures, models. Under
Yes.
the AI Act, they will need to establish many bodies, national competent authorities that implement certain provisions of the Act. We need to make sure that culture is represented in the decision-making process. I don't know, cultural sector representatives in the board of big tech companies.
Yes.
I know it sounds very hypothetical.
But it should be done like this.
But it should be done. So cooperation only on the principles of equality, equity.
I completely agree,
Yeah,
yes.
it's a very good disclaimer that actually we are not making this AI evil or pinpointing only the bad parts, but as we began our discussion from the AI Act and all this code of practice that was as you mentioned based on a risk assessing point of view, then it's only normal to just talk through all this from this type of perspective. I mean, of course, we should maybe we'll end our conversation with wow, AI is wonderful and disruptive in a good way, and so on and so forth. But the idea was to try to find actually the points of improvement that are needed, and it's important at this part, this process of legislation, because legislation is not agile, is not it doesn't move very quick. It's not. I mean, and there you have to be in the process so that when it is done and stuck, and then you have to take it over and over, and it takes time. So actually, is a very good point, because you wouldn't need advocacy if everything was rosy, bed of roses.
We were talking. We were in discussion with right holders organizations,
Yes.
and we were also discussing, because what is the opt-out and that Luiza was talking about is based on the copyright directive in the digital space of 2019.
Yes.
And so there's an article there saying that data, text and data mining is okay in specific conditions, or is always okay when there is no opt-out. It's because in 2016, when the legislation started, nobody was thinking about AI, or very few people.
And now in data mining, say, what is data mining? You know, I mean, it's a very technical term, apropos technical.
And this rejoins what
yeah.
I was saying, that
Yes.
AI and deep learning has always it's been there for a long time.
Yes.
It's been used for a long time, and it all then sparked again because of ChatGPT in 2022, because it's what really prompted the discussion on a public level. But we have to be able to see creatively also towards the future and see what are the ethical issues that could arise in the future, and we have to try to look at the future in a different way.
And I think we have an opportunity to do so, because I think human creativity is essentially based on access, on surplus that goes beyond immediate functionality, necessity, utility. That's why we keep saying that culture can provide visions of the common shared future. I think creativity, human creativity, thrives in empty spaces, in the moments of boredom, in the ability to waste time in something that is not immediately necessary. Whereas AI is designed to optimize, to simplify. It uses the excess of human creativity, but then it tries to put everything
very
nicely in one.
synthetic and very bullet points.
Exactly. And then I think it deprives us of the opportunity of struggle and failure. That raises a question about the future of human creativity and creative process. Because, for example, I have a younger brother who is 8. And he was recently introduced to ChatGPT, and he absolutely loves asking ChatGPT to generate stories, fairy tales about his favorite things, like Brussels trams, cats, transport companies. And he loves the output because the stories are very personalized, are very targeted. To my taste, they are flat. They are very standardized, repetitive. They follow the structuralist pattern. But when we're trying to deconstruct this with him, he doesn't see the problem, because we have different benchmarks. And then if human creativity is reduced to instant personalization, where is this space for friction? Where is this space for struggle that allows us to grow? And I think for us, it's really important to keep this human creativity overcoming some difficulties, some struggles, because that's in our creative process we can think of something unthinkable, and that would be our competitive advantage.
Very nice. Yeah, definitely. The unexpected is our competitive. When you are talking about very personalized content delivery, actually, when you think of an artist in general, author, creator, and their work, I mean, it's loved by millions and millions, and actually, it's not personalized. Actually, because each person is different, unique, so to speak. So actually, I wouldn't need personalized. I wouldn't because otherwise they will not sell millions of books and millions of albums. Yeah, I mean it's crazy. You want personalized. I don't want personalized because that type of artist speaks to me like it speaks to you. But as you mentioned, we have different benchmarks. But still, we are a group when we listen or when we read that artist. But otherwise, we are very, very different in taste and lifestyle. So,
good art is universal, I might say. And if you want personalized content, you create it yourself.
Definitely. You choose that.
And I think it's very important. So we talk about personalized content, and that's what AI generates. But content is not culture. Culture is the moment of this convergence, of this meeting halfway between like a universally meaningful book and then your personal experience.
And reaction, you react, you interact with that content. Yeah, super. I think we have to close it. Thank you very much. I mean, I like how we ended on a positive note. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
And we'll keep telling links and feed our audience. Feed? Can I use feed?
You can use the.
No, I'm more concerned about feed.
You just have to think about the language that you use, but
you are very right about the language. language. Language, I mean, gives form.
Of course. I mean, we're
you
talking about culture that shapes the way we see the world.
Yeah.
Language is part of culture and
Definitely, yeah.
Nurture, probably.
nurture.
But it may have some very patriarchal, implications. Okay, it's a subject for yet another conversation.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Mulțumesc, Oana.